In a typical scenario, I will start working with the company, and they've already outlined a technology that was going to solve the current problem, but failed, or usually was partially successful, right? So maybe they got 50 to 70% of the results they expected. And the phenomenon behind that is people will use the new system as long as it fits within their current reality. And when they get under time pressure, which leadership is putting on them, they will resort, will resort back to the old way because leadership has given them the timeline. So until you actually understand how that technology fits within people's work days and their ability to synchronize with their colleagues, you'll only get partial adoption. And that's one of the reasons why we've been so successful with the Heineken example. But just one last week, I was working with a large international company that has a very large fleet of delivery vans. And they're spread throughout the entire country, so you can imagine the management of that's very challenging. We're talking tens of thousands of units. And they are starting to invest in Industry 4.0, which means get better measurements and real-time data for where these assets, these vans are located, and the state of the conditioning those assets are in. And they still had an excessive number of vans waiting for maintenance, like out of service. And our first step was to do something that's counterintuitive. First is we visited the shops, and I noticed there's no whiteboards for communication. So here we are working on GPS and dashboards and very sophisticated technologies. But like what the people on the floor need is a whiteboard to physically write down what they're going to do that day and communicate it with the team. And you might think that a TV screen or a dashboard is more sophisticated than writing something on a board, but guess what? Those dashboards are typically one-way communication. So if you're someone on the floor, how do you communicate back to the board to actually build this virtual feedback loop? And we actually saw a reduction from 11 to 7% of vans in backup simply by putting in whiteboards into the shop and making sure people had what they needed, right? Now that does not preclude you from going to the next level of technology, but if you miss that intermediate step, you will not reap the benefits of those many millions of dollars in the new technology. A real key is, most companies, the companies actually do solve problems, right? And they're very good at solving problems. I typically help them with the subset of problems that for some reason didn't get solved. And it's almost always related to a new technological adoption that had to spread across functions, right? So it's a breakdown in communication and misunderstanding of how that technology impacts people upstream and downstream of the users. It's really vital for companies to have a bit of an external perspective when you start looking at how different functions work together. And it's removing that friction is why I'm able to help companies push themselves up to that next level when they get stuck.